In the sprawling, often unforgiving social ecosystem of the school, Dongju navigates his days as a solitary figure. His physical stature, marked by an overweight frame, has rendered him an outsider, a condition that manifests most acutely during the communal lunch period. While the cafeteria buzzes with the animated chatter of established friend groups, Dongju retreats to a silent, secluded corner, a self-imposed exile where his only consistent companion is a profound and palpable loneliness. His inherently timid disposition makes him a vulnerable target, a fact cruelly exploited by a group of senior students. One among them, whose handsome features belie a malicious character, approaches Dongju's isolated table. He unleashes a volley of harsh, demeaning insults designed to humiliate, his words slicing through the ambient noise. Dongju's response is one of complete inward retreat. He bows his head, his eyes fixed on his untouched meal, absorbing the abuse in frozen silence. A ripple of whispered reactions spreads through the surrounding tables, a mixture of morbid curiosity and passive pity, yet no one possesses the courage to intervene. A hot wave of shame envelops him, yet fear paralyzes any potential defiance. Just as he feels on the verge of dissolving into his own misery, a clear, commanding voice cuts through the oppressive atmosphere. The school's undisputed social luminary, Yaji, has entered the scene. Fully aware of the bully's notorious reputation, her innate sense of justice prevents her from being a bystander. With a calm, deliberate motion, she raises her smartphone, directing its lens squarely at the aggressor. His complexion drains of color instantly. As a member of a prominent school clique, the public dissemination of such an ignoble image would devastate his carefully cultivated persona. He stammers out a frantic plea for her to stop. Yaji, however, operates on a different level of social strategy. A knowing smile touches her lips as she calmly corrects him. She is not, she declares, capturing his malice. Instead, she is taking a commemorative photograph with her new friend Dongju. This elegant reframing of the situation delivers a devastating blow. The girl he secretly admires has not only publicly defended his victim but has also anointed him with her prestigious friendship. This constitutes a social humiliation far more profound than any verbal insult. His arrogance evaporates, replaced by stunned defeat. The Yaji effect proves instantaneous and transformative. As the cafeteria populace witnesses their most revered peer championing the isolated boy, the collective attitude undergoes a seismic shift. Dongju is suddenly surrounded by students offering questions and attention, treating him as a person of newfound importance. This abrupt influx of regard inflates his spirit with a giddy sense of vindication, while his tormentor is rendered invisible, forgotten in the corner. Dongju understands perfectly that this dramatic reversal is solely Yaji's creation. She is the archetypal school goddess, breathtakingly beautiful, immensely talented, and the object of universal admiration, yet her radiant aura never fosters arrogance. She possesses a warm heart and a genuine, proactive sense of equity, consistently positioning herself as a shield against injustice. Desiring to express his deep gratitude in the most concrete terms he knows, Dongju chooses to repay her with money. Meanwhile, under the bright lights of the school auditorium, Subin captivates the audience. His skilled fingers glide across the piano keys, weaving a mesmerizing melody. With his striking looks and exceptional artistic gift, Subin is the boy who occupies Yaji's secret affections. Though they have never formally dated, their long-standing closeness has led their entire social circle to assume they are a couple. Whenever teased about it, Yaji can only offer an awkward smile, privately conscious of the chasm between herself and the luminous boy on stage. After his performance concludes and he accepts his award, Subin seeks Yaji out for a private word, indicating he has something important to tell her. His decisive rejection of an invitation from another girl in that moment fuels fresh rumors, swiftly solidifying the public belief that he and Yaji are indeed romantically involved. In her heart, Yaji yearns for this to be true, but her rationality constantly whispers that their bond is merely a deep childhood friendship. This pervasive misunderstanding traces back to their first year of high school, when a single, ambiguous act from Subin made Yaji's hopeful heart believe his feelings mirrored her own. A coincidentally leaked video of them holding hands cemented this assumption for everyone. By their second year, Subin's public displays of care further fan the flames of gossip. Feeling trapped by these escalating expectations, Yaji resolves to clarify the situation. After mentally replaying their shared history, she musters all her courage for a heartfelt confession, believing the moment for a real relationship has finally arrived. The response she receives is a cold, emotionless rejection. A long night of heartbreak later, Yaji awakens from her dream. She arrives at the bitter realization that Subin's feelings were never romantic. Now, when they speak alone, her heart no longer flutters, her mind is clear, and every vestige of her former affection has dissipated, leaving only the easy, uncomplicated dynamic of ordinary friends. Back in the classroom, Yaji calmly shares this resolution with her classmates, declaring that Subin is not someone she can be with, and that perhaps they were only ever meant to be friends. Her peers immediately transform into amateur love analysts, crowding around with unsolicited advice. Yaji, however, seems detached from the commotion. Amid the chatter, she quietly retrieves her lipstick and applies it, a simple, deliberate act that captures the attention of her bespectacled neighbor Daeyeon. This subtle gesture shifts the conversation toward the upcoming art festival. Yaji asks Daeyeon who she plans to attend with. Daeyeon hesitates, admitting she is undecided, but mentions a suggestion that she and Subin perform a piano duet together. This idea plants a quiet seed in Daeyeon's heart, stirring unfamiliar emotions. For the first time, the girl who never wears makeup retreats to a restroom to awkwardly apply a thin layer of lipstick. It is there that her friend Je finds her, offering blunt encouragement to be more confident. Je's words, combined with Daeyeon's quiet resentment over believing Yaji had claimed Subin first, weigh heavily on her. Yaji, meanwhile, is certain that Subin's request for a private meeting is the long-awaited confession. She prepares meticulously, adorning herself in her brightest attire. The revelation he delivers, however, shatters her world. The person he truly likes is Daeyeon. Yaji stands frozen, her beautiful illusions crumbling into painful debris. In that moment of profound hurt, a desire for subtle retaliation takes root within her, even as she acknowledges the deep wound in her heart that will require significant time to heal. That night, alone in her room, congratulatory messages about the new couple flash incessantly on her phone, each one feeling like a needle piercing her heart. The following day at school, while Yaji stands alone, Subin approaches her with a familiarity and concern that feels almost boyfriend-like, leaving her profoundly confused. She cannot reconcile his choice of Daeyeon with this persistent, intimate attention. The cruelest blow lands when Daeyeon appears and witnesses the scene. The way Subin looks at Daeyeon contains everything Yaji had ever longed for, numbing her already aching heart. In a parallel subplot, another student, Juwon, finds his own heart quietly stirring for his close friend Je. Watching her from afar in the hallway, he grapples with the bittersweet pangs of unrequited affection, eventually resolving to find a way to win her heart. The classroom atmosphere is later electrified by shocking news. Dongju has reportedly signed a contract with a talent management agency. His transformed, neat appearance lends credibility to the rumor. Classmates recall that it was Yaji's initial intervention that first brought him recognition, and they now jest that it's Dongju's turn to help others. Yaji, however, is mentally absent, her thoughts and pain gaze drifting toward where Subin and Daeyeon share a moment of affection. Throughout the lesson, she is trapped replaying the painful details of Subin's rejection. Not only did he confess his feelings for Daeyeon, but he had the added audacity to ask Yaji to deliver his love letter and publicly endorse their relationship online. Facing this request felt like a knife twisting in an open wound, and she could only respond with angry refusal. A tense bathroom encounter with Daeyeon follows, where Daeyeon innocently thanks Yaji, believing Yaji endured heartbreak to protect her. Yaji offers no reply, departing in silence. Elsewhere, Dongju excitedly boasts about his new celebrity status to his roommate Seonjun, who is largely indifferent, his focus absorbed by the music on his computer screen. Yaji's path crosses Subin, again creating an awkward silence. Their friend Je, unaware of the tension, makes a joking comment about not interrupting the couple, which falls flat the moment Daeyeon arrives. Learning that Subin and Daeyeon will attend the art festival together ignites fresh anger in Yaji. She turns to leave, and Subin, sensing her distress after 15 years of friendship, follows. When he catches her hand, she feels no warmth, only cold resentment, and delivers a cutting remark that forces him to let go. As Je and Daeyeon approach and Subin leaves with Daeyeon, Yaji is left alone, besieged by sweet memories that now only inflict pain. Consumed by anger and a sense of inferiority, she confronts Subin, demanding an explanation for choosing an ordinary girl over her, only to receive a hollow, unsatisfactory reply. The love she once felt is now ash, replaced by cold resentment, and she begins to quietly plot her revenge. In stark contrast, Dongju's newfound fame proves to be a hollow illusion. The management contract is a scam, ultimately relegating him to menial work as hotel staff. When this truth emerges, he becomes the laughingstock of his former bullies once more. Yaji witnesses this renewed harassment and is poised to intervene when someone else acts first, Seonjun. After coldly dispersing the bullies, he turns not to Dongju, but to Yaji, sharply demanding she delete a social media post related to Dongju. She refuses. As Seonjun attempts to pull Dongju away, Dongju himself speaks up, firmly declaring he gave the money willingly and publicly thanking Yaji with genuine sincerity, deeply moving her. The incident draws teacherly attention, resulting in both Seonjun and Yaji being summoned to the office for their frequent absences and slipping grades. After a stern lecture, Yaji makes a firm declaration: she will participate in the art festival. Seeking out the reclusive Seonjun afterward, Yaji proposes a deal. She will not delete the photo, but if he agrees to be her partner for the festival, she will reconsider. Seonjun, a loner by nature, shows no interest. Undeterred, Yaji blocks his path, insisting they can help each other. She finally breaks through his resistance by appealing not to his social side but to his undeniable musical talent. Reluctantly, he agrees, forming a seemingly mismatched partnership. Meanwhile, Zhu arranges to meet an online seller in a park to purchase a wallet she admires. The moment the seller turns around, both are stunned into silence. It is Daeyeon. Zhu had bargained for a good price, pleased with her deal, completely unaware of the seller's identity. Daeyeon, recognizing her classmate, offers to give the wallet for free. However, upon learning the wallet belongs to Daeyeon, Zhu's attitude shifts dramatically. Her excitement turns to criticism and she cancels the deal, leaving Daeyeon standing awkwardly abandoned. Subin, for his part, faces pressures of his own. After a piano performance at a bar, he argues with the owner over payment. As a minor, he wishes to be paid in cash to protect his identity, but the owner insists on a bank transfer, leading to Subin's exposure. Leaving in frustration, he maintains his habitual gesture of buying milk for Yaji, but she now recognizes it as an empty ritual and rejects it coldly. Seonjun continues his strategy of social evasion, skipping school and ignoring Yaji's calls. Determined, Yaji marches to his home, wakes him from a sofa nap, and endures his angry shouts. Even after being thrown out twice, her persistence ultimately prevails, though she must go to school alone that day, bearing the sympathetic stares of her classmates. In class, the lively antics of Zhu and Juwon feel meaningless to Yaji. Her gaze lands on Subin and Daeyeon deep in conversation, reigniting her jealousy. Resolving to secure Seonjun's partnership as a form of retaliation, she visits his home again. This time she employs silence. The unusual quiet prompts Seonjun to peek outside, and Yaji seizes her chance, eventually persuading him to follow her. She leads him not to school but via taxi to an animal shelter, a place she frequents to clear her mind. Seonjun realizes he has been tricked into performing manual labor, but with the owner and Yaji blocking his exit, he has no choice but to reluctantly begin cleaning. Subin, noticing the growing closeness between Yaji and Seonjun, is consumed by a helpless jealousy that distracts him during a piano practice session with Daeyeon, causing it to fall apart. In contrast, Yaji and Seonjun discover an unexpected, comfortable rapport. Their candid conversation, including a discussion about the symbolic glass of milk, sparks a new, unfamiliar feeling within Seonjun. When Yaji encounters Subin and his habitual milk offering again at school, she walks past him without a word. Entering the classroom, she finds Daeyeon sitting in her seat. Daeyeon, seeing Yaji and Subin's lingering connection, senses the bond between them is not fully severed and is overwhelmed by a quiet panic, feeling powerless. Later, when Juwon inquires if Seonjun will join the art festival, Subin listens tensely as Yaji offers a vague "maybe he will," intensifying his anxiety. During the official registration, Zhu and Juwon are already a set, while Yaji is conspicuously alone as Seonjun has yet to appear. Classmates suggest pairing her with Subin, but the teacher dismisses this, stating Subin should partner with Daeyeon instead. As the three stand in uneasy silence, Yaji's phone rings. It is Seonjun instructing her to submit their joint registration. Simultaneously, a notification chime echoes through the room. Everyone checks their phones to find a video, sent by Daeyeon, deliberately crafted to depict her and Subin as a couple, aiming to sever his lingering connection to Yaji. Subin's initial terror that the video might expose his secret part-time job at the bar subsides only when he confirms it is a different clip and his secret remains safe. Subin's troubles are multifaceted. He is called to the office over unpaid tuition, triggering painful memories. 6 months prior, Daeyeon had discovered his secret employment. Having already developed feelings for him, she documented his job with photos but chose not to expose him. Instead, she used this knowledge as subtle leverage. Subin's pride prevented him from accepting her offered financial help, leading him to formally accept the bar job under the false pretense of being a college student. While the work solved his tuition crisis, it also trapped him in a constant state of fear regarding exposure. This looming threat was, in fact, the core reason for his cold rejection of Yaji at the park. He believed he could never be with her, relegating himself to the role of a hopeless, distant observer. Daeyeon, noticing his lingering gaze on Yaji, feels her jealousy rekindle. In a pointed display, she grabs Subin's hand and pulls him from the classroom right in front of Yaji, who watches with a heart squeezed tight by pain. Witnessing her distress, Seonjun quietly approaches and invites her for a walk. In the teacher's office, a casual comment from the teacher that Yaji and Seonjun make a great pair cuts Subin deeply, overwhelming him with sadness and helplessness. As Yaji and Seonjun walk together, a text notification appears on her phone from a senior student, pressuring her to meet that evening. Feeling unable to refuse, she reluctantly agrees, prompting her loyal friend Zhu to immediately ditch Juwon to provide her with much-needed support and solidarity for the difficult encounter ahead. In the countdown to the pivotal art festival competition, the dynamic between Yaji and Seonjun evolves under a pressure both creative and emotional. Seeking to solidify their partnership, Yaji approaches the reclusive musician to collaborate on their performance piece. His initial response is one of characteristic indifference, a wall of nonchalance she has grown accustomed to navigating. However, she presents a compelling offer. She will personally write the lyrics. This proposition, born from a genuine place of artistic contribution rather than mere need, finally breaches his defenses, and he offers a reluctant nod of agreement. Perceiving the lingering doubt in his eyes, Yaji asserts with quiet confidence that she can channel the authentic emotions she has genuinely lived through into her writing. This unintended admission serves as a silent revelation to Seonjun. It illuminates the fact that her heart still lingers in the shadow of Subin. A subtle, almost imperceptible flicker of sadness passes over his features before he retreats into the quiet of his own thoughts, leaving Yaji already immersed in the creative flow of her composition, oblivious to the ripple she has caused. Elsewhere within the school's ecosystem, another student, Juwon, is lost in the vivid theater of his own aspirations. He immerses himself in daydreams of a cheering crowd and the intoxicating glory of a flawless stage performance, adopting the pensive expression of a melancholy prince in his private reverie. This fragile fantasy is brutally dismantled the moment he steps into the bustling dance studio. The sight of other boys practicing with intense dedication, and more painfully witnessing Ja's admiring gaze fixed upon one of them, ignites a sharp spike of jealousy. In a clumsy attempt to recapture her attention, he attempts a series of dance moves that end in humiliating failure. The memory of a past compliment Ja gave his rival fuels a restless frustration. Feeling directionless, he turns to Yaji, calling to vent his tangled feelings. Her characteristically straightforward and insightful advice cuts through his confusion, providing the clarity he needs. Galvanized by her words, Juwon resolves to genuinely earn Ja's regard through dedicated effort, not empty posturing. As the studio empties, he remains behind, pushing his exhausted body through solitary practice late into the evening, striking a determined pose in the mirror to bolster his own resolve. Meanwhile, Yaji, having poured her emotional energy into lyric writing, succumbs to exhaustion, collapsing into a deep sleep at her desk. Seonjun returns to find her in this vulnerable state. In the quiet room, he takes his prescribed antidepressant and settles onto the sofa, eventually drifting into a troubled sleep. His rest is invaded by horrific flashback nightmares from a past trauma, jolting him awake in a cold sweat, his composure shattered. It is in this state of raw vulnerability that he hears it, Yaji, still half asleep, softly humming a melody. This same haunting tune serendipitously echoes in another part of the city, where Subin practices it on the piano while Daeon listens, the music giving her the courage to tentatively voice her own feelings. As Yaji stirs and turns her chair, her eyes meet Seonjun's in a moment charged with unspoken understanding and awkward resonance. Seonjun breaks the silence not with a question but with sincere praise for her song. This unexpected affirmation catches Yaji off guard. Her original motivation for partnering with him was entangled with jealousy and a desire for indirect revenge against Subin. Yet here stands Seonjun, offering genuine appreciation and a subtle, growing affection she doesn't know how to process. Unbeknownst to her, her innate cheerfulness and resilient optimism have begun to act as a quiet antidote to the depression he battles. He offers his praise earnestly. She deflects with playful teasing, their dynamic shifting into uncharted territory. This fragile moment is interrupted by a text message, the senior she had agreed to meet. Remembering the appointment, she departs in a hurry. Simultaneously, Seonjun's phone illuminates with a message from his ex-girlfriend, stating she is feeling better. A rare, fragile smile touches his lips, but the message also acts as a key, unlocking the floodgates to painful memories of negative press, harsh public criticism, and the intense scrutiny that once shattered his world. In the now empty classroom, Subin sits alone, his mind adrift. The teacher's earlier comment about the palpable chemistry between Yaji and Seonjun echoes tormentingly in his thoughts. He is only jolted back to reality when Ja enters to retrieve a forgotten item. Her casual remark that Yaji is meeting the handsome senior that evening ignites a spark of protective urgency within him. At the secluded meeting spot, Yaji faces the senior. Their conversation has just begun when Subin arrives. Yaji pointedly ignores him, focusing on the senior, who is now kneeling before her, weeping and whining about being unjustly fired from his part-time job, despite knowing full well his own culpability. Witnessing this pathetic display, Subin's anger flares. He raises a hand, ready to physically intervene and teach the man a lesson. Yaji, however, coldly stops him. She dictates a single condition for her help. The senior must go and offer a sincere apology to Dongju. With that as the only price, the man slinks away. Finally, Yaji turns to Subin. He stands silently, simply staring at her. Losing patience, she threatens to withdraw her support entirely. After an internal struggle, Subin hesitantly, vulnerably suggests a hug. Following a beat of awkwardness, Yaji closes the distance and wraps her arms around him. Sensing the profound turmoil churning within him, she leads him to a nearby park to alleviate his stress. They find a trampoline and bounce together with a childlike, cathartic abandon. Yet Yaji perceives that Subin's emotional walls remain firmly in place. She holds up a hand, spreading 5 fingers, a silent, intimate code from their shared past where each finger represented a specific promise, apology, or emotion. Subin's finger touches the one symbolizing an apology. Finally unlocking his feelings, Yaji begins to voice her own complaints but is interrupted by the ring of Subin's phone. It's the bar owner. He steps away to take the call, and when Yaji inquires, he not only refuses to explain but hastily tells her to wait as he has to leave. Though confused, she agrees. Time stretches. Testing her patience, she calls him but he doesn't answer. On his end, Subin is desperately trying to negotiate time off to return to her, but the bar owner is being deliberately difficult. Sitting alone in the quieting park, Yaji receives a call from Seonjun asking when she'll return. At that moment, remembering the other person who is there for her and assuming Subin has abandoned her, she tells Seonjun he doesn't need to wait. His response is a calm, deep vow. He will always wait for her. Subin, having exited the bar, does not go to Yaji. Instead, he collapses in a dark alley, overwhelmed, and cries uncontrollably. His phone rings incessantly, a symphony of calls from both Yaji and Daeon, but he ignores them, letting his tears flow until exhaustion pulls him into a fitful sleep. When Yaji calls again, Daeon, who has found him, answers. Hearing Daeon's voice on the line stuns Yaji. She asks for Subin, but Daeon responds with sweetly poisonous lies, claiming she will take care of him. Her words expertly widen the chasm between Yaji and Subin. A profound misunderstanding takes root. Yaji becomes convinced Subin has chosen Daeon and resolves to excise him from her heart. This painful moment triggers a cascade of memories for Yaji, clarifying the twisted history. The financial debt between Subin and Daeon originated from his unpaid tuition. Unwilling to be indebted, he took on part-time work to repay her. Daeon's feelings for him had begun in their very first days of school, ironically seeded by Yaji herself. Noting Daeon's piano skills, Yaji had casually introduced her to Subin, unwittingly creating the opportunity for a one-sided love to blossom. Yaji, meanwhile, had always existed in her own radiant orbit, kind, universally admired, her school locker perpetually stuffed with love letters. Even Jae had once approached her seeking help against bullies. When Yaji didn't provide immediate aid, Jae did the unexpected. She became the first student to formally pay Yaji for protection, an act that deeply annoyed Yaji at the time. Later, after receiving a heartfelt letter from Jae expressing her disappointment, Yaji took decisive action. Instead of scolding her, she publicly pulled Jae into a photo, declaring her a friend and returning all the money, forging a genuine bond. Back in the present, the combined effect of Subin's perceived weakness and Daeon's manipulations leaves Yaji feeling freshly wounded. Facing this repeated emotional injury, she resolves to sever ties with Subin for good. This decision conjures the memory of her own most traumatic public humiliation. During a freshman event, as she was cheered onto stage to perform, the large screen suddenly flickered and displayed a stolen, private photo of her to hundreds of shocked eyes. Though Subin had rushed on stage to cut the power, the damage was indelible. Returning to the aftermath of Daeon's call, Yaji tries to call back but is met with silence. With nowhere else to turn, she goes to Seonjun. Finding him truly waiting for her as promised, a complex mix of guilt and warmth spreads through her. She tries to act nonchalant, sitting down and clearing her throat. Seonjun in turn responds not with scolding but with playful teasing, putting her at ease. They focus on recording their song. Her first attempt falters, but she quickly composes herself and delivers a flawless take. Seonjun listens, utterly captivated by her voice. The next day at school, Seonjun asks Yaji about Subin's condition. Hearing his name, she stammers, unable to clearly define their fractured relationship. In the dance studio, Jae accidentally twists her ankle. Later, called to the office, she receives astonishing news. She's been nominated for a full scholarship for the following year. Though her grades were slightly shy of the mark, an exceptionally heartfelt recommendation letter secured her position. Overjoyed but puzzled, she wonders who her silent benefactor could be. She hasn't finished sharing the news with Yaji when Daeon interrupts with smug congratulations. Though surprised, Jae thanks her politely. Daeon's demeanor, however, plants seeds of doubt among their classmates. Jae initially attributes it to luck, but Daeon begins to insinuate she orchestrated it all. When the truth is subtly revealed that it was not Daeon's doing, Jae's joy curdles into public humiliation. Seeing her friend's fury about to erupt, Yaji tries to intervene, but Jae is beyond hearing. She unleashes a torrent of frustration and harsh words directly at Daeon before storming out. Daeon's anger simmers. How dare someone she considers beneath her challenge her so publicly? Yaji, witnessing this, confronts Daeon, their conversation laying bare the truth about Subin and severing any last pretense of friendship. They are now unequivocal rivals. Jae, carrying her rage, finds Juwon struggling with a water bottle. She snatches it, drinks deeply, and then unleashes a stream of curses about Daeon. Seeing her distress, Juwon performs a deliberately silly, clumsy dance to make her laugh. His awkward sincerity breaks through her anger, coaxing a genuine smile onto her face. In that moment, a special feeling quietly takes root in Ja's heart. As night falls, Daeyeon, isolated and vindictive, sets a malicious plan in motion from her lonely room. A phone call is made, initiating the gathering of every piece of damaging information, every potential stain that could ruin both Yaji and Seonjun. A ruthless campaign of revenge is set into motion. The day of the final art exam arrives, the multimedia room thick with tension and anticipation. Yaji's eyes unconsciously scan for Subin, finding his usual seat empty, which fills her with a vague anxiety. Seonjun, seated beside her, senses her disquiet. Though a flicker of jealousy stirs within him, he chooses acceptance. The competition commences. After Ja delivers an outstanding performance, it is finally Yaji and Seonjun's turn. But as Yaji steps onto the stage, the ghosts of her past public humiliation surge back, paralyzing her with fear. Seeing her tremble, Seonjun gently suggests she can step back. Yet in Yaji's eyes burns an unshakable determination. She takes a deep, steadying breath and moves to the center of the stage. Seonjun, understanding her tension, leans close and whispers for her to sing solely to him. His words become her anchor. Her trembling ceases. As the melody rises, her voice blends perfectly with his piano, transforming the stage into a sanctuary of raw emotion, captivating the entire audience. At the height of their triumph, Daeyeon strikes. The school's sound system is hacked. After a burst of jarring noise, a fabricated recording plays, a conversation between two men falsely claiming Yaji accepts bribes to help friends. The applause dies, replaced by poisonous whispers and suspicious glances. Before the recording can finish, a figure strides decisively through the crowd. Subin. He will not let her be humiliated again. He shuts off the recorder and confronts Daeyeon. While he has saved her from the immediate onslaught, Yaji's image is once again publicly tarnished. Furious at Daeyeon's vileness and wounded by the crowd's judgment, Yaji is called to the teacher's office, leaving Subin standing by, powerless. Ju-won, meanwhile, faces his own crucible. As a new trainee in a highly competitive company, his abundant energy and desire to stand out lead him to inadvertently dominate practices, overshadowing others and making him appear selfish. Tensions simmer beneath a facade of teamwork. Realizing his misstep, Ju-won humbly apologizes after every session. His vulnerability is exploited by two fellow trainees. One, in a white shirt, openly chastises him. Another, in black, plays the kind older brother, offering encouragement. After a company representative leaves, the trap is sprung. The white-shirted trainee pressures Ju-won to drink alcohol. Panicked and inexperienced, Ju-won refuses. As anger flares, the black-shirted trainee intervenes, suggesting a non-alcoholic drink instead. Trusting this apparent kindness, Ju-won drinks it, unknowingly consuming a spiked beverage that leaves him dangerously intoxicated and vulnerable. Just scrolling on her phone, accidentally stumbles upon a video of the two bullies mocking an unconscious Ju-won. Without hesitation, she goes to the company. She finds Ju-won in a wretched state, with the bullies plotting to ruin him. The black-shirted trainee finally removes his mask of kindness, sneering that he always disliked Ju-won and that this was his plan all along. As they prepare to further humiliate him, a figure appears in the doorway, Ja, her phone recording everything. With their guilt captured, the bullies panic and flee. Ja gently tends to Ju-won, seeing her familiar face, a flicker of relief shines through his drowsy eyes. Yaji, wandering the school grounds in a daze, is quietly approached by Seonjun. He subtly changes the music playing through her headphones, revealing a playful side that surprises her. Their initially light banter gradually takes on a deeper, more ambiguous tone. To deflect the growing intensity, Yaji teases him. For Seonjun, however, this is the moment to lay everything on the line. He confesses his feelings for her. Yaji is stunned by the unexpected admission. Before she can formulate a response, he turns and walks away, leaving her with a racing heart and turbulent thoughts. Subin, hidden in the shadows, witnesses the entire exchange. The smile that touched Yaji's lips during Seonjun's confession speaks volumes to him. He realizes the door to her heart has closed for him and decides it is time to leave this chapter behind. Before his departure, he meets Daeyeon one final time, speaking with a decisive finality that severs their connection forever. Daeyeon is left feeling hollow. Subin repays all the money he borrowed from her, cutting every tie. He then arranges a final meeting with Yaji at their park. Unburdening himself completely, he recounts the entire sordid history with Daeyeon. Yaji listens and ultimately forgives the timid, trapped boy he had been. Seeing her forgiveness, Subin finally musters the courage to confess his own true feelings. His words plant a fragile seed of hope in Yaji's heart that they might finally have a future. But this hope is short-lived. Subin's graduation arrives abruptly and he leaves, plunging Yaji into a state of profound shock and loss. She feels utterly soulless, sinking into a sorrow so deep that her desperate attempts to reach him prove futile. In her devastation, she is forced to turn to the only other person who shares this specific pain, Daeyeon. Their meeting is charged with the shared agony of losing the same person. Having lost Subin, Yaji can only lean on Seonjun as a friend, while Daeyeon, having alienated everyone, retreats into her familiar loneliness. Amidst this landscape of heartbreak, two people find a beacon of light. Ja, through her raw talent, wins first prize in a major competition. Ju-won, through relentless effort, earns the title of most popular trainee. During this shared journey of success, a special affection begins to grow in Ja's heart for Ju-won. This budding connection is tested when Ja sees Daeyeon handing out lipsticks to other students, a sight that stirs an uneasy feeling she tries to ignore. Daeyeon approaches Ja, and their conversation begins civilly before Daeyeon veers into mockery, implying Ja's win was due to her influence. Ja, knowing the truth, retorts sharply that she danced for fun and still won, sarcastically pointing out Daeyeon's need to bribe others for favor. The argument escalates viciously, with Daeyeon hurling cruel insults and even demanding Ja return her scholarship money. When Daeyeon shoves Yaji to the ground during the confrontation, Yaji's own anger ignites. She delivers a powerful, definitive slap to Daeyeon, then publicly lists all of Daeyeon's wrongdoings before walking away, ending their conflict permanently. With the grudge against Daeyeon settled, Yaji returns to the park, a place saturated with memories. A bottle of milk is placed before her. She instinctively thinks of Subin, but when she looks up, it is Seonjun's face. Sensing her lingering longing, he decides to share a secret. Before leaving, Subin had come to see him. Initially, Seonjun intended to send him away, but upon realizing the depth of Subin's remorse and his purpose, he let him in. Subin poured out his heart, entrusting Seonjun with everything concerning Yaji. Hearing this, Yaji finally accepts the painful truth that the person she loved is gone for good. Yet, towards Seonjun, who has patiently stood by her through everything, her heart begins to soften and waver. Sometime later, the vindictive senior resurfaces, releasing an edited video to slander Yaji. To clear her name, she fights back decisively, uploading all original footage and evidence online. Leveraging her influence, the truth spreads rapidly, finally exonerating her. Months pass, Yaji's life finds a new rhythm. In the absence of Subin, she becomes a popular social media creator, often singing and interacting with a devoted audience. Seonjun, respecting the space between them, channels his feelings into the musical instruments in the school's common room. An invisible thread seems to connect them. While Yaji sings a particular song during a live stream, Seonjun, as if guided by intuition, plays the same melody elsewhere. Yaji maintains her old habit of checking her school locker, the pain of loss still a quiet ache, but life moves forward. She continues to visit the common room to listen to others' music. During one such visit, a familiar figure appears. Subin has returned. He quietly approaches and gently takes her pinky finger, a gesture laden with the history of their private code. In that moment, Yaji's world seems to stop. She realizes the person her heart never truly forgot is standing before her. That simple, profound connection makes her understand it is the confession she had been waiting for all along. Their story, for now, finds its poignant pause in this moment of silent reunion and unspoken promise.